Right, good evening, good afternoon to you all, and thank you for joining us today. And once again, we welcome you to another Innovation Boot Camp. And we're excited to welcome our speakers who are here already with us. Thank you so much for joining us. I will introduce them in a little bit more detail a little bit later on, but welcome Samuel and Giorgio.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So it's exciting. Today we discuss something that is very critical in impacting our processes and the people and the culture of our businesses. And this is something from my own research, which the digital revolution since 1940 when it began has impacted businesses in many ways with the effort to improve productivity and profitability. And as you see with the advent of the fourth industrial revolution, we continue to aspire to encourage business people and especially entrepreneurs at startup level to adopt the aspect of digitalization. And that's what we are here to explore today. And we will speak to an expert who will speak to us, and we will have someone who's implementing it on a day-to-day basis speak to us. So thank you so much for joining us. For those who have joined us for the first time today, I welcome you to the E4Impact Foundation Innovation Webinars, where we explore different topics and aspects that improve the skills and tools of different entrepreneurs. We talk about trends. I just want to introduce to you who E4Impact is, what our programs are, and where you can find us. So I'll just share my screen and be able to share who we are. Right, so the E4Impact Foundation, we're very passionate about training entrepreneurs that have impact. And we are talking about impact in terms of the economy, by building sustainable business models that are profitable and that create jobs. That's our passion. And we are also passionate about having social impact and environmental impact. The aim is to create an environment where the consumers of your services and your product are in a good space and are capable of continuing to enjoy your products and your services and grow your business. We are also conscious of the processes, the products, the raw materials that impact on the climate and on the environment. So we encourage our entrepreneurs in our programs to think deeply about the impact that they have economically, socially, and in terms of the environment. The E4Impact Foundation, like I said, is focusing on training impact entrepreneurs, and currently we are in 17 African countries, and we are working in partnership with universities that have the same passion and leading, creating the largest alliance of universities focusing on creating impact entrepreneurs. And I will share more information on the universities that we have partnered in, and you can find us on all our social media platforms, and you are able to contact our partner in the country that you are in. We're passionate about collaborations and understanding our strength in knowledge transfer in terms of entrepreneurship. We want to develop partnerships and market relations for the participants of our programs, for participants who come, for example, on board on our webinars, and all in countries in Africa and Italy and Europe as well. We are here to offer many advantages in our collaborations and our partnerships, and most importantly is to create an ecosystem of financiers, an ecosystem of enablers, an ecosystem of regulators that allow opportunities for entrepreneurs to get investment. And up to now, the maximum investment obtained by a student from our program has been 2.5 million. We are also passionate about making sure that business grows and has impact, achieving percentages like 85%. And our alumni is growing as we grow new additions that join the programs in terms of the MBA program, and in terms of our certificate program or projects programs that we do through our accelerators. And we are creating a large alumni that has been able to access financing, that has been able to access new markets and actually manage to export their programs. products and services. We're very passionate about strategic partnerships, and we continuously engage different players in different sectors, government bodies, non-profit bodies, and regulatory bodies that enable us to grow our alumni. Currently, we have our MBA program, which is a 1 year to 2 year program in different countries. And this is based on practical approaches that allow you to be able to implement based on your business. And we encourage you to go in Tunisia. A program has just started in 2022. In Kenya, another program has just started in 2022. In Sudan, a program is starting in May. You can contact those universities and speak to our program leaders who are there to respond to you and be able to assist you on the criteria and the admissions process. So we are also in Rwanda starting in May 2022 with the University of Rwanda. In Zimbabwe, we have just started a 4th edition with the Catholic University of Zimbabwe. And in Mozambique, we have just started our 2nd edition at St. Thomas University of Mozambique. So please go to our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and be able to see our partners in all the different countries that we're in. And if you have any questions, please feel free to go into the chat room and be able to ask which country you need contacts for, and they will be provided to you, so we can be able to assist you to be able to participate in our programs. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited today to talk about digitalization because I know it is a very, very topical issue. It's something that's affecting us all, whether we like it or not. We are participating in the process. And here today, we want to discuss how we can be deliberate about participating and boosting our businesses using digitalization. So to kick off our conversation today is Giorgio Sartori, a member of the E4Impact Business Development at Africa department, and who has worked for 40 years in consulting and system integration area with a lot of experience from these areas. Giorgio, please continue to introduce yourself and tell us what you feel is very important in terms of digitalization. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Berta, and good evening, good afternoon to everybody.
Giorgio. We can't hear you.
Do you hear me now? My audio is up.
Okay, you're not on mute, but we cannot hear you.
Activa is alternate.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Fine. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, and good afternoon, good evening to everybody.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
It's a pleasure to be here. As Berta kindly said, I had a long experience in IT, in consulting and system integration, and I got involved in Africa as well because for a number of years, 10 years ago approximately, I've been in charge for consulting and system integration for Africa and Middle East for IBM. And I think that what is very interesting is that this situation, the digitalization, etc., offers a wonderful opportunity for Africa to move very fast forward. What we see is that this is an opportunity even for leapfrogging European or Western countries, because you have some hurdles, but in this moment, you have more opportunities than hurdles in this segment. And I will try to cast some light about that. So let me show a few charts that I prepared to go quickly through this topic. Please tell me if you see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I can see it.
So the first thing that I would say is that in this moment, everybody speaks about digitalization. And I beg your pardon because I don't know who you are. And therefore, maybe there are experts among you, or there are people who are not very deep in this topic. So whatever I say there will be probably somebody who will say, this is obvious, but I cannot do in a different way because we don't know each other. What I want to stress immediately is that when we speak about digitization today, everybody has in mind maybe e-commerce or some fashionable words, apps, social media, maybe blockchain, things like that. But in reality, this is a very complex scenario where there are dozens of different topics, and some of them are extremely complex. So I will try to give you an overall view about that. If we look at this scenario, the real question is what digitization means for you. In other words, you don't get involved in digitization because it is fashionable. You should get involved because you have a specific goal, a specific target, and digitization can help you in achieving it. And for doing so, you need to have very clear in your mind what is your goal and what can give you a competitive advantage to achieve the goal. And this depends in part from the stage of your business. You may be in a very preliminary stage. You have an idea in mind and you want to build a startup to pursue this goal, to pursue this dream. Or you may have an established company that has already background and history and a running business. So depending from the case, your interest could be completely different. Maybe you want to get financed, or you want to improve the quality, or vice versa, you are struggling to invent a new business and your goal is to understand how the technology can help you in doing it. So that's quite different. And the answer to your question depends a lot from where you are in this phase. And the history, how we got to this point is an important topic to speak, because for a typical European or Western company, the last wave of digitization comes after 40 or 50 years of IT development, which is my history personally. I mean, I started with IBM in 78, when most of you were not even born. And this means that we went through batch system, online, ERP, web, etc. Oddly enough, it is not said that this is an advantage. In other words, this means that we accumulate a lot of experience in mature economies, but this means also that we have a burden. The legacy is a burden for most of us. Changing the current situation means an incredible effort. If you start now, or if you are fresh, this is an opportunity to get just some lesson from the past, but start anew, start fresh, without being encumbered by the legacy. This is a real opportunity, and there are more and more cases where this becomes a competitive advantage for African countries. Just to give you an example, because in most African countries, the infrastructure is, some infrastructure are less developed. Most African countries jumped into the mobile technology much faster than some European countries. So mobile payments boomed in Africa much more and earlier than in Italy, just to give you an example. So there are already situations where African companies or African countries are on the front edge, on the leading edge in the adoption of the technology. So I would say that the fact that you don't have such a long history, I'm speaking in general because some of you could have a long history behind, is more an opportunity and an advantage today than a challenge. You may have the possibility to leapfrog a lot of, let me say, legacy. What does it mean now to speak about digitization? Basically, there are three things that we can try and push through the digitization. One is the efficiency, the second one is effectiveness in your business, and the third is what probably you have in mind, which is creating new businesses enabled by the technology. Even if this is the most modern and the most fashionable part of the picture, you should not forget about the other two, because efficiency is absolutely critical when you become big. I mean, it's probably not the most important topic for a startup, but if you lay the foundation when you are small, then the growth is much easier. And then there are also some other consideration to do about it. Effectiveness is probably critical since the beginning, because it means if you do well your core business or not. And obviously creating a new business based on what the technology offers is the most fashionable and the most appealing thing today. But you should not forget also the two previous points. So I will spend a few minutes about the first two items, the first two areas, and then we will speak much more about the third one. I mean, when you speak about efficiency and controlling the business, there is obviously a price for having it, and the price is that you have to track what you do. You have to track it in an IT system, because this is the only way to have to track it appropriately, which means that you have to input your transaction, your business, your payments, your everything in the system. It may look initially quote unquote a waste of time, but it is not. If you don't do it, sooner or later you will clash against a wall. And if you lay the foundation since the beginning, you may have a number of benefits since the beginning. Because just to give you two or three fast examples that can be obvious for some of you, so beg your pardon if I say something that you know very well. I mean, if you don't have an analysis about your cost center and profit centers, it becomes difficult to understand what is really providing you profit and what is not. Just to give you an example that is in a different sector, when the hospitals started to be run as a business, the problem became to understand which kind of operations of surgical intervention, etc., are more profitable or not, which are have how to optimize the cost for each of them, etc. It's a completely different view that you cannot have if you simply run the business without having this analysis. Same for budgeting. If you don't prepare a budget, you are not able to understand if you are running along in line with your expectation or not. All these things cannot be done by heart. Whether you put everything in a system or you don't have the control. It's same for stock and warehouse reduction. And keep in mind another point. If sooner or later you want to get financing or you want to speak with investor who can put money into your company, I mean, they want to understand your business. They want to see data. They want to see that you are in control and that your prediction, your forecast, etc., are reliable. If you don't have let me say, the basic system to do it, you are not appealing. You will not get a financing or support. However, it is not important how you call these systems, but basically for doing it, you need ERP or ERP-like systems. It's an old name, but that's content. It means accounting, warehousing, purchasing, etc. Keep in mind that cloud is very fashionable, but it is not a solution. It's a tool. Cloud allows you to get these things in a more flexible and maybe cheaper way without investing your own personnel into it. But basically, it's just a tool. It doesn't give you the solution. Something that is much more related to the business and can have an impact on your, say, competitive advantage are the systems that support the business, which means sales, CRM, after sales, for instance, which includes maintenance, e-commerce, systems that support the production if you are a manufacturing company, MRP, computer-aided design, etc., or supply chain optimization, and so on. What becomes more and more important in this system, what is different now from 20 years ago, is that it is more and more important to get data, so to create business intelligence on all these aspects, to be able to analyze them and to get prediction about what happens. So we are moving from a situation where we were in condition to analyze what happened to a situation where, thanks to the data that you collect, you can be in condition to predict the future. Take maintenance, for instance. If you get a history about the maintenance, accidents, and all these things, then you can start predicting what happened in future and spare a lot of money and offer a better quality and a better service level. But this means that you need time for doing it and you need to gather the data. So this can give you a lot of competitive advantage, but it moves you also toward the third component, which is how the technology can enable new business, new ways to do business, which means new business models or new products. One thing that, for instance, is happening, that there are many transformations that are happening in this sense, and I will speak a little bit about that. And Samuel Munguti will also provide you a real-life example of what's happening. But there are a lot of things. You see the same names below: social media, artificial intelligence, IoT, etc., that can present new opportunities for doing business, for inventing new business. All of them, more or less, have two or three peculiarities, and some of them place very well in case of African countries. The first one is that, in general, all of them are less dependent from basic infrastructure than traditional ways to do business. In other words, I'm not speaking, saying that everything can be done without railroads and without roads, because obviously at the end, if you move products, physical products, at the end you need ways to do it. But it opens the door to a number of ways to do business without moving from your home, providing that you have at least a good connection. For instance, in the service area, it becomes possible to be known and to work with somebody, even if it is 10,000 kilometers of distance, and do it in a perfectly good way. And this is true for information technology services. It's true for marketing or communication. It's true even for different kinds of businesses. For instance, you can take a snapshot of a wound or take an X-ray projection in a place and have it analyzed by a surgeon or by a physician who is 10 1,000 kilometers of distance. So it allows you to do a number of things without moving people or goods. And we see it also in Italy, for instance. We see that people can stay in your home village instead of migrating to the big town because they can do their activities from home, provided that they have a good connection. This is, as I said, it's not true for everything, but it is true for a number of different activities. So less critical, it makes geography less critical, and if it makes some infrastructure less critical. Another very important point is that these technologies allow you to disintermediate, which means that the traditional way of doing business implies many times long supply chain. You are a farmer, you have to move, you produce your crops, then you have to give them to a person who transports them, to freight them to an intermediate market, and then maybe to the big town, and so and so. There are many layers in the middle, and most of these layers take a fee and have a cost. And before you get to the customer, there are many steps, and maybe the customer will never know anything about you. The customer sees only the last step of the chain. What you can do with the technology is many times to jump over all these intermediate steps and make yourself known to the direct customer. You can do it with e-commerce. You can find ways to transfer your goods or your services by passing some of these chains. And this allows to transform your business in some way. And obviously, one of the goals is to decrease time and cost to get to the market and to get to the customer. Obviously, I'm not showing you what we say, a perfect world. There are a lot of hurdles, but not everything is doing for every industrial sector and for every person or for every firm. But this situation shows a promise to change a lot of things. And just to give you a few examples of what can happen, here it is, for instance. If you speak about agribusiness, irrigation, watering, if you have sensors in the ground that track the salinity, the humidity, etc., you can have an irrigation that starts, a drip irrigation that starts only when it is really needed. And this allows to spare a lot of water. And this is sophisticated and complex from one side, but allows to to produce crops in places where, with a standard agricultural approach, it will be almost impossible. I mean, a typical example is Israel, where they are very good in growing crops in the desert, even with very little water, because they are very sophisticated in adopting this criteria. Another example, still in agriculture, can be blockchain. You can track precisely your crops and provide in this way a full visibility of your production methods and production certification, etc. And this can allow you to sell your products at a much higher price, because they are, you can show that they are certified or produced in a very specific way. So move from commodity to premium price crop. If you speak about e-commerce, you know perfectly that e-commerce in some situations allows you to get in contact with directly with the customers and bypass all the steps in the middle, and therefore create your customer set, your market, even if you are in a remote area. I'm not saying that this is easy, but it is feasible, and we can offer dozens of examples like that. I mean, in the morning, we spoke about an enterprise in Kenya, which is trying to adopt, attach some chips on the pumps for irrigation or pumps for liquids, and better control pumps in this way, decreasing the electricity and air consumption. And this is a different way to exploit, let me say, a kind of equipment, sparing money. It looks a perfect scenario, but obviously it is not perfect. There are a lot of others. And moving to the end of my speech, I think that I saw in the initial questions that have been sent by Berta, by Chiara, etc., a number of topics that is too long to discuss here, but at least I can summarize. I mean, a lot of questions were about how to build an e-commerce, how to build a digital market, how to ensure the loyalty of the customer, etc. And here the quick answer is that digitization is the basic for doing it. You need it. But then you need also something else, because there are tons of companies that offer, that are already on board with e-commerce. So you need to differentiate yourself, which means that you need also communication skills, copywriting, graphics, a number of other skills, because your page on e-commerce, on the site, website, etc., should be appealing, should be indexed with SEO technologies, etc. So you need to get prepared to do it. So it's technology, but this is not just that. You need also other skills. I don't want to frighten anybody, but technology enables you. Then you need also something else. Digitization in agribusiness, Samuel will speak about that. It's one of the most appealing areas because, as I said before, it could allow to grow crops in unfavorable terrain, in unfavorable grounds with new technologies. It could allow you to control it in many different ways. For instance, with surveying with drones the crops and analyzing them with business analytic or artificial intelligence. It could become a very promising area, particular for Africa, which has a lot of potential agricultural ground. And the lack of infrastructure, we already spoke. It's an opportunity to bypass a number of these gaps, because you cannot escape them completely, but this technology can allow you to mitigate them a lot. This is my last chart. I would add a few hints or recommendations. The first one is that currently you need to have to collect data from everything you do with the equipment, etc., because these are really your asset. Try to adopt standards, because this allows you to grow in the future. Otherwise, you risk to get a number of different applications and tools, and then to be not capable of integrating them. I would say, keep in mind that what drives is your strategy, not the technology. You should select the technology that helps your strategy and not vice versa. So I would stop here, otherwise I spend too much time. Thank you for your patience, and I will leave it to Samuel.
Great, thank you so much. A great foundation and introduction to the topic. I will quickly hand over to our next speaker, who will be able to share more with us on how he has practically been able to enable this to carry on. And Samuel, welcome. Samuel is the CEO of Shamba Pride, and through his marketplace platform, he is contributing to the revolution of rural agriculture commerce. Welcome, Samuel, and tell us how you have contributed to the ecosystem of African farmers.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Giorgio. I think that was a fantastic wrap and summary of how digitalization can be leveraged to build a successful business, not just in Africa, but everywhere. Joining us, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Samuel. I'm the CEO and founder of Shamba Pride. And this is our 6th year building Shamba Pride. Before Shamba Pride, I managed lots of last mile distribution assignments for different corporations in different countries in Africa. A little bit about my background. I grew up in a very farming, smaller farming community, and always it has been my passion really to be part of the people and the community solving challenges that have limited success of small farmers for many decades. And I think you can agree with me, this is not a Kenyan problem. This is really an African problem, it's a global problem. So what is Shamba Pride? Shamba Pride, we are revolutionizing last mile commerce, agriculture commerce ecosystem. When you look at last mile and rural agriculture commerce ecosystem in Kenya and many African countries, it is very informal, it is very fragmented, it is very inefficient. And actually, when you talk about the barriers that have limited success of smaller farmers everywhere, the farmers will tell you that they're not successful because they lack access to right agriculture inputs. They tell you they're not successful because they lack access to the right extension practices and good agriculture practices. They're not successful because they lack access to finance, to credit, and the list is endless. And when you look at how that ecosystem is structured, for example, a very good example is Kenya, for example. With a population of 8+ million smaller farmers, actually 90% of these farmers depend on informal agro-dealer stores. We call them agrovets here. And when you look at how these agro-dealer stores are structured, they are very informal. They lack capacity to deliver extension. Actually, all these problems have become problems for the farmers they serve every day. So Shamba Pride targets these informal traders and farming communities, and we transform them to DigiShops. DigiShop, maybe I'll split down what DigiShop means. Basically, we offer a supply chain solution. Meaning that rural farmers, wherever they are, we connect them to credible manufacturers of agriculture inputs, basically solving decade-long challenges of price exploitation, quality of products, and supply chain inefficiencies. And two, we offer a technology platform. There is a lot of decade-long challenges. For example, last mile delivery of extension that has been a huge problem for many African governments. Basically, leveraging on technology has been able to solve this. And through Shamba Pride solution, we are creating rural ecosystem and communities where farmers everywhere can access more improved services, more improved inputs, more improved credit facilities, more improved extension. So far, we have a network of 30,000 farmers who are really directly being serviced through our technology platform. We are servicing a network of 1,500 micro entrepreneurs. These are the informal traders who have really been able to digitize and modernize their operations. So far, we have built a team of 25. 10 of these are women. And also we have managed to onboard 2 investors as early as last late last year, investors who participated in our seed round. We closed a seed round of $1.1 million. Good. So why digitalization? Maybe I'll dive deeper in the next slide, and I'll really reflect a lot of cases and examples with Shamba Pride, lessons, what we have learned and picked along the way, and digitalization globally. I think I'll echo what Giorgio had just said. It has become an essential part, like a very essential part of building and really scaling a successful business. And for us, our case, for example, we look at embracing digitalization across operations, our operations across our solution delivery, for example, in terms of operations, leveraging on digitalization to operation efficiency. I think all this, I'm just echoing what Giorgio had just said, leveraging on digitalization to improve solution delivery, how we deliver our solution to rural smaller farmers, how we deliver our solution to agro dealers everywhere, leveraging on digitalization really to make more intelligent data-driven management decisions. And basically, this becomes very important when you are going to scale any business from one region to another, from one level to another. And above all, I think COVID also meant digitalization become really a big segment and big market segment. For example, now we have populations who are more digital everywhere, Kenya and every African country. Actually, now our populations are more digital. When you remember the lockdowns and the social distancing, actually, a lot of businesses really crashed down. Those who did not evolve and embrace digitalization, for example. And this created a pool of population that is more receptible to digitalization. So any business thinking about digitalization, actually, I'll encourage them to jump in now. The populations everywhere, whether you are in the transport sector, in the agriculture sector, or any other sector now, it's more easy for populations to embrace digitalization as a form of trade, and as a form of doing business. So Shamba Pride case, what we do, we offer simple solutions that have become barriers for many years for farmers to succeed, enable farmers to access the right inputs, the right financing, the right extension services, basically through a technology platform, and it's as simple as that. And through this, actually, we have been able really to create a rural last mile trade agriculture ecosystem where farmers have improved access for these key services they need. And actually, this translates massively to improved farm productivity for these farmers. And actually, when you talk about communities that depend entirely like economy and everything rotates around farming, then it's not just about farm productivity, but also income. Income becomes very key. So for Shamba Pride case, digitalization in terms of our solution delivery. When we began building Shamba Pride, for example, I can give a very quick example. And in terms of our delivery for extension, our approach from the beginning was to have an extension team, to have agronomists on board to recruit livestock advisors. And actually, we ran this for like 2 years. Like anytime we expand to a new region, then we advertise, we say we need to hire new agronomists, like crop advisors, we need to hire new livestock advisors. And along the way, then the wage bill continued to really balloon and become big and realized that this is not sustainable. And we came back and realized that delivery of extension, for example, and training to farmers, it has been a decade, many years challenge, not just for Shamba Pride, but talk to any government across South Africa. I'll tell you that they have been unable to deliver last mile extension because simply because of one reason. It has all been driven through physical interaction, physical delivery of extension. And for us embracing technology to deliver extension, it was a huge game changer in a number of ways. One is when you compare the cost for delivery of extension, and these have given a real life, a real example of our experience during Shamba Pride. delivery of extension through physical interactions, like having an agronomist visit a farmer group, having an agronomist organize farmers in a group and deliver, for example, a training section, for example. The cost per farmer is on average $2 physical delivery. We have managed to really drop this to around 0.2 cents. Actually, it's close to 0.1 cents in terms of cost of delivery of extension per single farmer, actually leveraging on technology. And basically, we have demonstrated that you can leverage on technology to deliver a huge challenge that have really been a decade-long challenge. That has been a huge barrier for many farmers, actually, and deliver it at scale more cost-effective, and at scale very sustainable. And this is one example that you can pick and really apply it in any sector. But many challenges that have been really very cost-effective and capital-intensive to deliver, you can really pick up and digitalize that kind of solution delivery. And through that, you can really bring that cost down. And that will really be a very good path really to accelerate solution delivery, accelerate scale for your business. And we have been able now to really scale. Now we are, in Kenya, we are right now 80% presence in Kenya. We are looking at closing the next 20% in the next 2-3 months to have national coverage. And basically our cost for last mile delivery of extension is really very manageable, is very sustainable, is very, very scalable. And this is because of utilizing our last mile delivery of extension. The other thing is delivering, utilizing our supply chain. When you look at talk to farmers everywhere, this is a common scenario. We have been seeing in the news that counterfeit products is still, like even this year and this month, it's always in the news that farmers are purchasing counterfeit products. And all this is the issue of inefficient supply chain. Farmers are purchasing products, exploited pricing for products. Basically, farmers are really missing the key products when they need them. And actually, this is not only a case for the agriculture sector. It applies to many other industries. Digitalizing supply chain, we have been able to control the price, the last mile price, the price that a single customer, whether a farmer in village A, village B, accesses and purchases, for example, a packet of seed, a packet of fertilizer, and be able to standardize this price. We have been able really to solve the traceability problem. And traceability, I mean that when you talk about products, when you talk about quality of products, actually, the biggest problem is that traders take advantage of the loophole in terms of being not able to trace origin of a product from point A to point B, and they push counterfeit and poor quality products in the market. And digitalizing the entire supply chain, from the supplier to the manufacturer to the stockist to the last mile customer, actually, you can easily control both pricing, you can control both the quality of products, you can really control a lot of things. And basically for us, we have managed to do.
Samuel, thank you so much. I want you to also zero in on insurance. I'm very fascinated about the digitalization of finance, which is something that is very topical. But tell us more about the insurance products that you're offering.
So when you look at Haptech for insurance and Haptech for insurance for agriculture insurance products, and actually this cuts across even for general insurance, either life insurance, it's very low. It's very low across Kenya and many other African countries. But what we have done is that, for example, for our case, Shamba Pride, we have been able really to demystify insurance as a product. And our path to demystifying insurance is every packet of seed, every packet of fertilizer, for example, a farmer purchases, we bundle that with insurance, for example. Like you purchase a packet of fertilizer in a shop, in a digi shop, for example, in a community X, and then you open that packet, you can easily activate your GPS point, and you can easily get insurance for that one packet. And then through the GPS tracking, then we can be able to tell that this farmer who purchased this packet at point A, and then got maximum yield, could be covered at 80%, at 20%, at 80%. The same with finance. When you look at when you talk about vulnerable populations, I think the agriculture and the smaller sector has been left out for many decades, for example. We have been able, in the communities we are serving, and delivering inputs and delivering extension and delivering insurance products, also really demystify access for finance and really prove that these smaller farmers, they're also bankable, they're also doing incredible businesses. One of the things that we have done is that we have encouraged these farming populations to embrace record keeping, basically going back to digitalization. As much they are doing farming in small ways, but also digitalize every process, like the purchase process, digitalize the farming process, digitalize every process of production. And basically through this, really, you can look at, see a farmer being able really to say, I've made profit for 10,000, for example, 10,000 Kenya shillings, 20,000 Kenya shillings. And for us, our objective is to make this sector that has been left out in terms of finance, really being able to, like, bankable through demonstration that they can keep data of their farm production, data of the expenditure, demonstrate that they are making profits, or not even just profit, but demonstrate they can keep records. And through this, we, for example, we have partnered with big finance institutions. Yeah, we have Equity Bank, who is our partner, and we have been able to put them to cascade down and look at this population as bankable. We have also brought some of the banks that traditionally they have not looked at this sector as bankable, like Stanbic, for example. We have built a product with Stanbic Bank. Now they are really, for the very first time, really lending smaller farmers through this kind of demonstration, having farmers digitize and do record keeping and really embrace digital farming.
Great.
Good.
Great.
So, yes, brother, go on, please.
No, wow, thank you so much. And I think you have responded to most of our questions and really brought out the elements that we, Giorgio, had introduced. And it's so exciting to hear such success stories. And I'm so excited about the way you've been able to scale, covering 80% of Kenya and intending to actually to nationalize your services. So that's quite encouraging and something that most entrepreneurs are keen to hear. So such success stories are very exciting. I'm going to ask you a question. I think you've answered most of our questions. Mainly, we had questions on how to harness a digital economy around agrarian socio-economic situations. I think you've touched a lot on that. We're going to talk about how digital services and rural savings and credit cooperatives and digital finance can come into play. I think you've explained that, and including touching a topic that is really, considered but very important, which is insurance. A question I will throw at, and I'll use the last 5 minutes where we are supposed to finish at 6, just for Giorgio maybe to respond to a question on someone who says, I know digitalization helps. Please help me, I've started a new job in the media sector. What would you advice would you give for the trends and the skills and tools to develop in the media sector for someone, Giorgio?
I'm not an expert specifically in media, but I would say that in media is becoming extremely connected to. I mean, in media there is a convergence of all the. I beg your pardon for the joke, but all the media, communication media, in other words, you have television, you have laptops, you have social, etc. So you have to define, you have to pursue two kind of approaches. From one side, if you want a kind of communication to be spread among different tools, among different media, you have to standardize the format in a way that is acceptable. Something that is, for instance, extremely clear in this moment is that when you define your website, whether the website of a firm or your personal image. It should be done in a way that can be seen in a seamless way, in a device-independent way. So you should be able to see it on your laptop or on a mobile or any kind of different media without losing the clarity of the image. So from one side, you have to secure that the visibility of what you do, including your personal profile, is good with a device-independent approach. On the other side, each specific media has a different communication logic. I mean, each social has a different approach. Each social is structured to provide information to a slightly different audience. And so another level of sophistication, let me say, but a basic one, is to differentiate your message depending from the media that you want to, the social media that you want to utilize. If you use LinkedIn, it's a different thing and it's a different audience than Facebook or TikTok or whatever else. This is why I'm saying, I said in the previous chart, that it's not just a matter of technology. You need to know this kind of logic, and you need whether to become an expert or to use experts in terms of graphical approach and how to convey the message. This is true for a firm, but it's true also for yourself. So you should study how you want to present yourself to different audiences, depending from the channels that you want to use, or vice versa. You have in mind which is the audience that you look for, and then you have to select the channels that you want to use to get there, and the right way to show up in this channel. I don't know if I gave an answer. It's a complex topic.
I think you did. Thank you very much. And is there anything like excessive digitalization? I throw this to both of you. Maybe Samuel, you can start. Is there anything like excessive digitalization?
Maybe I jump in fast. Excessive digitalization. Actually, when you jump into digitalize different parts of your business, then it's the best way you can advise entrepreneurs on board and business people on board is to digitalize on need basis. For example, when you look at your operations, what actually you want to achieve when you are digitalizing your, for example, your accounting processes, your finance processes, basically is to have clean financial records, to have credible financial records. They become very handy when, for example, you start looking for investors to look into your business. They look at how credible are your financial records, for example. When you start digitalizing, for example, your solution delivery, what is the value you will get from that? Is it that you will scale more faster, your business more cost effective, and accelerate your business faster? But I think for me, it is not excessive digitalization. You digitalize on need basis, basically on what you want to achieve, either on operations, around operations, or even on solution delivery for business.
Wow, thank you very much. Dear gentlemen, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I think we need another session on digitalization, and the questions were many this time, and we thank you to our audience for coming through. And once again, if you need more information on how to contact our speakers and how to contact our program leaders, please go to our social media. In conclusion, I appreciate data from Giorgio, and appreciate intelligent data from Samuel, and you are then able to make quick and faster decision making for your businesses, and that's what I picked from both of them. Strategy is what drives the type of technology you need. So I picked up that from both our speakers that your strategy needs to be intact. It needs to be aware of what it needs to be, the goals and objectives that it's addressing in the vision. So it's important to understand that technology enables a good strategy, and put standards as you build your processes. And I think Shamba Pride showed us how to use digitalization in achieving processes that are efficient, processes that reduce operational costs, processes that reduce solution costs. So, and improves productivity. So high agility. And I saw that you talked about employee and morale of the farmers improving through the use of digitalization, and communication improving, real-time communication, transparency, and most importantly, providing a competitive advantage. And most importantly, for us to have impact, scalability, and enabling scalability and growth. So thank you so much to both our speakers. Thank you, Samuel, all the way from Kenya. And thank you, Giorgio, all the way from Milan, for joining us this evening. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. And we hope you join us again next time. You can catch this recording on our YouTube channel, the E4Impact YouTube channel, where you can catch more of our programs that we've done before. Thank you, and have a very good evening or afternoon. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.